Welcome to Ezra's Chronicles, a space where faith, poetry, and wisdom are embraced. Today is Saturday, March the 1st, 2025, and our poet in review this week is the legendary Dylan Thomas. So without further ado, let's dig into the life and works of this amazing poet. The life and poetry of Dylan Thomas. Tonight we explore the tumultuous and brilliant life of Dylan Thomas, Welsh poet, playwright, and master of lyrical language, a poet who saw beauty in the everyday, tragedy in time, and music in words. Born in Swansea, Wales in 1914, Thomas grew up surrounded by rolling hills, crashing waves, and the lyrical lilt of the Welsh tongue. These landscapes would shape his poetic vision, filling his work with nostalgia, nature, and childhood memories. Thomas. And death shall have no dominion. Dead men naked they shall be one with the man in the wind and the west moon. Thomas had an extraordinary gift for rhythm and imagery. His poetry, rich and evocative, drew comparisons to the Romantics, but unlike many of his modernist contemporaries, he embraced emotion over intellect, music over fragmentation. By the 1930s, Dylan Thomas had moved to London, where his passionate performances and vivid poetry captivated audiences. He was a poet of the people. His work was alive with song-like cadences and lush metaphors. But fame came with excess. His love for alcohol and chaotic lifestyle became as legendary as his poetry. Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. A poem of defiance, a plea against the inevitable. Thomas wrote it for his dying father, but its power echoes through time, a rallying cry against mortality itself. His final years were marked by relentless touring and self-destruction. In 1953, he traveled to America for a reading tour where his health rapidly declined. The weight of fame, drinking, and exhaustion took their toll. Dylan Thomas died in New York at the age of 39, leaving behind a legacy of poetry, prose, and radio drama. His masterpiece, Under Milkwood, a play for voices, was performed posthumously, a final testament to his boundless imagination. Dylan Thomas, the wild and wistful bard of Wales, gave the world poetry that sang, wept, and burned with life. His words remain unbroken by time, still raging against the dying of the light. I've selected 3 random poems from Dylan Thomas. The first, Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. The second, The Song of the Mischievous Dog. And finally, a poem titled Poem. Do not go gently into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they, do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Next, the song of the mischievous dog. There are many who say that a dog has its day and a cat has a number of lives. There are others who think that a lobster is pink and that bees never work in their hives. There are fewer, of course, who insist that a horse has a horn and two humps on its head, and a fellow who jests that a mare can build nests is as rare as a donkey that's red. Yet in spite of all this, I have moments of bliss, for I cherish a passion for bones. And though doubtful of biscuit, I'm willing to risk it, and I love to chase rabbits and stones. But my greatest delight is to take a good bite at a calf that is plump and delicious. And if I indulge in a bite at a bulge, let's hope you won't think me too vicious. Finally, poem. Her tombstone told when she died. Her two surnames stopped me still. A virgin married at rest. She married in this pouring place that I struck one day by luck, before I heard in my mother's side or saw in the looking-glass shell the rain through her cold heart speak, and the sun killed in her face. More the thick stone cannot tell. Before she lay in a stranger's bed, with a hand plunged through her hair, or that rainy tongue beat back through the devilish years and innocent deaths, to the room of a secret child, among men later I heard it said. She cried her white dressed limbs were bare, and her red lips were kissed black. She wept in her pain and made mouths, talked and tore through her eyes smiled. I who saw in a winding film, death and this mad heroine meet once more on a mortal wall, heard her speak through the chipped peak of the stone bird guarding her. I died before bedtime came, but my womb was bellowing, and I felt with my bare fall a blazing red harsh head tear up, and the door's flood of his hair. So what are your thoughts about Dylan Thomas and his poetry? I find it very remarkable, but I'll leave the judgment up to you. This is Ezra Godson. I bid you Godspeed and farewell.